So inshallah, this is our last few paragraphs for this text, and we'll finish this chapter or this article. So last week, basically the author was saying that the human being has done so many things in terms of innovations and achievements. The human being has been able to invent new things. He's been able to increase his knowledge of the universe, knowledge of the stars, of the planets. He's figured out the oceans, the depths, the pearls, jewels, so many things. However, his final conclusion out of all of that was, he said that in the door of the unseen, the human being has been helpless, right? Almost defeated. He can't even knock on the door. He doesn't have the courage to even ring the bell, right? So these are all obviously, the point is that he hasn't been able to see the future at all, because this is the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or this is, in other words, this is in the knowledge of Allah. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُطْلِعُ عَلَى غَيْبِهِ أَحَدًا. In this last sentence, and Allah does not, لَا يُطْلِعُ, أَطْلَعَ يُطْلِعُ عَلَى means to inform, right? So Allah does not give access or inform anyone about His unseen. Okay, so now we will finish the rest of it. So here he says, أَيُّهَا. Has anyone heard أَيُّهَا before? What does أَيُّهَا mean? It appears a lot in the Quran. حرف nida, very good. Right? It means, oh. It's a way of grabbing someone's attention when you're speaking to them, right? What another harfu nida, another common one? Yeah, isn't it? Right? So yeah, and ayyuha. We use ayyuha when the word after it starts with alif lam. Right? So they both more or less have the same meaning. But when we have alif lam, it's generally we use ayyuha instead of ya. Okay, and in the Quran, when you see as well, it says, for example, ya ayyuhan nas, right? Ya ayyuha an-nas, or ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, all those who believe. Okay, he says ayyuha shabahu. We came across this word in the first week, ash-shabah. Does anyone remember it? Ayyuha shabahu. The very loose translation in English would be like a ghost, something that's not clear, not very visible, right? Shabah is something that you just get a glimpse of, and you're not really sure what you saw, right? You saw something, but it was very difficult to see the form. You can't really make a judgment as to what it is. What's the measurement? Is it a human, animal, right? So here he's saying ayyuha shabah. And who is the shabah referring to here? Ayyuha shabah. Who is he talking to when he says, oh, ghost, or something that's unclear, or the unclear object? It's about the future, right? Al-Ghad, tomorrow, about the future. Yeah, we can say doubt as well, something that you have a doubt about, you're not really sure. So he's talking to tomorrow, he's saying, ayyuha shabahu, and here he's bringing a sifa to the shabah. Ayyuha shabahul mulathamu. Okay, mulatham sounds like a ism maf'ul, and the meaning is, right, lathama yulathimu is from form number 2. Mulathim is the ism fa'il, mulatham is the ism maf'ul. It means to be veiled, right? Mulatham means to be to be veiled. And then he continues. He says, "Al-mulathamu bilithami." So clearly, you can see that that there's a relation between mulatham and litham. Litham, let me just. Yeah. So litham means a veil, but a veil or a mask, a face mask that covers the lower part. Basically like what we wear nowadays because of the virus. Lower part of the face to the eyes, right? In the desert, this is very, very important to have. It protects you from dust, protects you from dust and wind and so on. So litham is specifically a covering that covers the face, but usually it's part of the face to the eyes. Covering the lower part of the face, it should be not to the eyes. So basically the nose and the mouth, right? It's the nose and the mouth. So that's what litham means. So mulatham is something that's veiled, bilithami, with a veiling. Okay. So the literal meaning of this would be like this: Ayyuha shabahu. Oh, let's say ghost, right? Oh, unknown object or ghost. Al-mulatham. Because this is a sifa, we have to bring the sifa first, because in English you bring the adjective first. You say the tall boy, for example, right? But in Arabic we bring the noun first. We say al-waladu tawil. So here al-mulatham bilitham al-ghayb, right? You can consider all of this as a big sifa. So we can say, oh, oh veiled, or another way you can say it to make it easy in English is you can say like this: oh unknown object, who is or which is veiled with the veil of the unseen. Okay, so the with comes from the B, the harf jar B. Litham al-ghayb is an idafa phrase. Litham al-ghayb, you can say the veil or the face mask of the unseen. So he's basically picturing the future as a very unknown object, right? But that unknown object has a face mask, right? It has a face mask, and what is it protecting? What is this face mask protecting? What is behind the mask? It's the unseen, right? So bilitham al-ghayb. The litham al-ghayb is the veiling of the unseen. So it's as if this person is covered. His face is like, let's say, he's got the knowledge of the unseen, right? He can tell you exactly what's going to happen in the future, but it's covered, right? He's basically, his mouth is covered. So I hope that was clear. هل لك. Okay, هل لك. What does hal mean? Hal is a question word, right? Is it do you? What is it? It has all these different meanings depending on the context. But here in the expressions, I have put something here. هل لك أن. Okay, this is an uslub. This is a way of asking a question, but your real intention is a talab. It's a request, right? It's a request. So what does hal laka an mean? The meaning is, can you? It's a form of request. The literal meaning is this: hal laka, is it for you to? In other words, is it possible for you to? Okay, but in English we say, can you? Hal laka an. This is a very common way of saying it's a question, but it's really saying it's a polite way of asking something. Okay, it's a question, but you're not expecting an answer. You're expecting an action as an answer, right? So هل لك أن. هل لك أن. Can you, or is it possible? هل لك أن ترفع. Right? هل لك أن, and we know that an is one of those huruf that causes nasb to the fi'l mudari'. So we say هل لك أن ترفع, right? Not ترفع, ترفع. Very good, to raise. رفع يرفع means to raise. Okay, I haven't included here because it's a common verb. هل لك أن ترفع? Is it okay, or can you raise or lift عن وجهك, from your face? عن is حرف جر, وجهك. وجه, anyone heard of وجه before? وجه, face, right? So wajh and wujuh. Wujuh is the plural. This is used in the Quran as well. وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ. Right? Where Allah says in the day of judgment that there will be faces looking. إِلَى رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. Looking to its Lord. Okay, so wujuh. Wajh and wujuh. So wajh means face. It also has other meanings. Wajh also means a direction. Okay, ittijah, wajh. But in this context, it means face. هل لك أن ترفع عن وجهك? Can you lift from your face? هذا اللثام. What kind of a phrase is this? هذا اللثام. Anyone remember? هذا اللثام. Very good. It's a badal phrase, right? So هذا اللثام, and I have put it as a fatha because this is a maf'ul bihi to the verb رفع, right? Really, the maf'ul bihi actually is هذا, and al-litham is just a follower. It's a tabi'. Okay, so that's the maf'ul bihi of rafa'a. Rafa'a and tarfa'a هذا اللثام. But the object doesn't always have to come immediately after the fi'l. It can come later on as well. And I'm sure you're familiar with this now in Arabic, that these things can move around quite flexibly. And wajhika will be the muta'alliq to the verb tarfa'a. هل لك أن ترفع عن وجهك هذا اللثام قليلا, just a little bit, قليلا, right? لنرى. So this li here is the li of giving a reason. What's the reason of the action? Why does he want him to lift, this face mask a little from his face? قليلا. Why? لنرى, so we can see. Right? لنرى. So رأى يرى means to see. نرى is we see. لنرى, so that we see صفحة واحدة. Okay. So what do we have here for safha? Safha, you probably have come across it to mean a page. Has anyone heard of safha meaning a page? Safha or suhuf, right? When the Quran says suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa, right? The scrolls or the papers or pages of Ibrahim and Musa. That's more a derived meaning. The actual lughawi meaning or language meaning of safha is edge or side of something. That's why a page is called safha, because it's one side of a book usually, right? Safha is one page. Common Urdu as well. Okay. So safha or suhuf, the language meaning is edge or side, and it also means page in usage. But here it doesn't mean page. In this context, it means a small edge, just a side, right? لنرى, so that we can see, or so that we see صفحة واحدة, just one edge or one side of what? من صفحات. The صفحات, there's two plurals for it. You can say suhuf or you can say صفحات. They're both acceptable. Okay, they're both acceptable. لنرى صفحة واحدة من صفحات. This is a straight sound feminine plural. صفحة, صفحات, like مسلمة, مسلمات, right? كريمة, كريمات. So صفحة, صفحات. But I'm sure you know by now that some words can have more than one plural pattern or form. Okay. so that we see just one side of the sides of your covered face. مقنع and وجهك المقنع. Okay, so this is the sifa for وجهك, and مقنع means covered, usually full face. Okay, so litham is usually the veiling that covers the nose and the mouth. Muqanna is it basically covers the whole face. Okay. Does anyone remember the movie The Mask? It was years ago, in the 90s, I think, by Jim Carrey. The Mask. If you remember that movie, there was an Arabic version as well, and the name of that movie was, oh yeah, there's a cartoon as well, yes. So the name of that movie in Arabic was known as Al-Qina'. Qina' means mask. Muqanna', this is the verb form, right? Muqanna', form number 2, is ism maf'ul. Muqanna' is the thing that's masked. Okay, so masked face, covered face. You can say that qina' and litham, they can be used somewhat interchangeably as well. But good authors never like to repeat a word if they can. Okay, repeating the same word over and over again is a poor sign of a writer. Okay, it's not eloquence, it's not balagha. Part of balagha or eloquent writing is not to use repeated words over and over again. So here, litham and qina' or muqanna', mulatham, muqanna', you can say basically the whole idea is a covered face. Okay, a covered face. So he's saying here, can you lift, from your face, هذا اللثام, this face covering a little, so that we can see just a side, one side from the sides of your covered face. Right? In other words, can we see a little bit of the unseen? Can we know a little bit of the unseen? Can you tell us a bit, just a little bit? أو لا. أو usually means or, right? Or no, or not. Actually, if you don't want to do that, if that's not possible or not, فاقترب. If not, so get close. Here, so اقترب. اقترب is here فعل أمر. Okay, اقترب. اقترب يقترب. اقترب يقترب اقتراب means to get close. The word that we know, قريب. قريب is near. A verb form for that is اقترب. اقترب means that he got close, or he is getting, or he got near, right? اقترب. Here he is giving a command. He's saying فاقترب منا. Okay, if you don't want to raise your face mask, that's fine. أولى or not. If not, فاقترب. So get close from us, minna, or to us, right? Come close to us, فاقترب منا. قليلا, a little bit. علنا. Has anyone heard in the Quran it's used a lot, this combination لعلنا or لعل or لعلي? You would have covered it in one of the more advanced subjects. لعل, the harf. Did anyone come across it? Very good. Perhaps. Right? Perhaps. And this is a sister of inna. Inna wa khawatuha. Inna, anna, ka'anna, lakinna, layta, la'alla. There are 6 or 5 sisters of inna. If you include inna, it becomes 6 in total. Okay? By that, what it means is that grammatically it will do the same thing. Its ism will be mansub and its khabar will be marfu'. Right? And this is used a lot in the Quran. When Musa alayhi salam says, لَعَلِّي, or it was Ibrahim alayhi salam, لَعَلِّي أَطَّلِعُ عَلَى إِلَهِ Musa. Oh, it was Fir'aun. Okay, but it's used a lot. لَعَلِّي آتِيكُمْ بِخَبَرٍ. So Musa alayhi salam, when he goes to the burning bushfire, he says, I will go there and perhaps I will have good news. Right? لَعَلِّي, perhaps. Also, it's used in the famous verse of the month of Ramadan, right? What the verse was? What was the verse? يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Right, so fasting has been prescribed to those before you and to you, so that perhaps you will attain taqwa. So yeah. إنك لعل. No, that's different. That's not لعل. That's not لعل. Gulnaz. That is وإنك لعلى. So ala is upon, and when you put la, it emphasizes it even further. Right? It could have been إنك على خلق عظيم, which means you are upon a great character. But when we say إنك لعلى, it's like there's 3 degrees of emphasis. You have the inna, you have the ka, you have the la. So this is like, indeed, definitely, for sure, you are upon a great character. Okay, so that's different. That's different. Yes, Irfan, correct. So allana is just, sometimes they say la'allana, and sometimes they say allana. It's just the shortened form of it. Exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Allana or la'allana. You will see allana used a lot in poetry as well. And poets like to shorten things, but it's exactly the same thing. It's just removed there. Just it's a possibility. It's used in Arabic like that, but it's exactly the same thing. So la'allana or allana, nafsu shay, the same thing. Have I included expressions? I think I have. Yeah, so la'alla here is a harf, sister of inna, and it means perhaps. Allana, perhaps, nastati'u. So come close to us a little bit. Perhaps we can nastati'u, and perhaps we can do something. And what is that? لعلنا نستطيع أن نستشف. Now this فعل means استشف يستشف استشفاف. Right? It's form number 10. Very good. But it's an irregular form number 10. It has a shadda at the end. So there is some changes in its conjugation. It means to look through something. Right? It means to look through something. So if you have something that's a bit transparent and you can look through it, right? It could be a paper, or it could even be some of these curtains. These curtains where you can see through them. Obviously not as clear as when the curtain is not there, but it's basically looking through something, right? Or you can see behind the object. So istashaffa, that's what it means. If I say istashaftu, it means that I looked through something. So he's saying, لعلنا نستطيع, perhaps come close to us, لعلنا or علنا نستطيع أن نستشف, perhaps we can look through. نستشف, what's the مفعول به? Look through what? صورتك. Perhaps we can look through your form. Okay, look through صورتك. Surah means form, but the more common meaning nowadays can also mean photo. Okay, this has come from مستشفى, استشف, يستشف, استشفى. I'm not really sure if there's a connection there. We'll have to check that. I don't think so, but we'll need to check the dictionary if they have a common meaning. Yeah. So surah means a form. In modern Arabic, it can also be used as a photo. And this causes modern debates. This word of surah. There's a hadith. I don't know the hadith word by word, but in meaning it's that the Prophet ﷺ almost discouraged photos, so that or surah. He uses the word surah because it leads to idolatry and so on. And that's why some people take this very literally, and they say the Prophet said no photos. That means that we can't keep any photos, or don't have a form of a toy that resembles an animal or a human being and so on. But were there actually photos back then? Right. So this idea of a photo is a newer concept. It's more modern. Back then, the Prophet ﷺ was perhaps referring to idols, like don't make statues, right? Because they will lead to idolatry. So some take this very literally, and they say any form is haram. And you will see some people where they will not have any pictures in their houses, or they're very against taking photos because they follow this fiqh opinion that says, any form is completely haram. Other scholars say, no, this is, the Prophet is referring to, in his time, surah meant, more about statues or drawing something which is very permanent to the point where people start worshipping it, or, all these things. Yeah, the angels will not come. And some scholars say this has nothing to do with the modern photography. That's completely fine. There's no issues there. This, the intention at the end of the day is for memories, is to keep, things that happened in the past as an evidence, and so on. I'm not giving you, an answer. I'm just saying the surah is controversial in some of these fiqh debates. Like, what does it really mean? But anyway, where were we? Okay, so come close from us so that we can see, so that we can, look through surataka, look through your form, right? Look through your face. You can even say, look through your face, or your form is probably better. So we can look through your form of bihi min wara'i, from behind هذا اللثام المسبل دوننا. Okay. All right. So what does wara mean? Anyone come across wara? This is used in the Quran a lot as well. Wara is behind, right? It's another word like khalf. Khalfa, wara'a means behind or back. Okay. So up to here we know min wara'i hadha al-litham. So he's saying, come close to us so that we can look through your form from behind this, mask. In other words, behind the mask there is a form, right? Come close to us so that perhaps we can see through your form behind this mask. So behind the mask is really the unseen, right? So that we can know a bit about the unseen. This is very obviously imaginary language, okay? Very imaginary language. Now this word al-musbal dunana, this is like a sifa for the litham, like describing the litham. But musbal means to let something hanging down, okay? To let fall. This is very commonly used in curtains. They say, for example, that the curtain is musbal. It's or let it come down, let it hang down. So basically something that's hanging down. And I think this is also used in the hadith when the Prophet ﷺ talks about, the people that wear their pants low, to the point where the pants touch the ground. That was a sign of arrogance back then. In other words, they could afford, rich people could afford these things. So musbal is something that's hung down, or it's falling down, or it's coming down. Okay. And duna has many meanings. Does anyone know any meaning of duna? Have you come across any meaning of duna before? Duna has many meanings. Okay, it means without, it means beside, in front of. Yeah, has many meanings. If you put it in a dictionary, a whole list of meanings will come. Okay, so I personally also struggle sometimes with this word when they use it in books. You have to really consider many meanings to see what they actually mean. Okay, it's one of those. Usually, the smaller in size words have the most difficult meanings, like the harfu jar. The harfu jar, its definition is that it doesn't have a meaning. That's the classical definition of a harfu jar, right? You have to kind of deduce the meaning. So these small words are always very large in meaning, but in this context, it means in front of or facing, right? So he's saying that come close so that we can see your form from behind this mask, which is basically fallen down or hung down in front of us. It's separating us, in other words, right? This is in front of us. You know, come close, so come in front of us so that we can see beyond your form. Okay? Basically, in other words, the form is the tomorrow, it's the future. فقد, because indeed, right? Why is he saying all this? فقد, because indeed, طارت قلوبنا شوقا إليك. Okay, so let's go word by word. طارت. Has anyone come across this verb before? طار يطير. طار. طار يطير. Yeah, very good. It means to fly. Okay, and طيارة, which means a plane, also comes from this verb. طار يطير. And then you have الطير. The Quran uses الطير, the bird, right? Basically something that flies. So طار is the verb. طارت قلوبنا شوقا إليك. The literal meaning is like this. Our hearts, قلوبنا, this is the fa'il. Our hearts have flown or flew. Why? شوقا. شوق means okay, I haven't updated the word here. This is wrong, so don't worry about this. Shawq is like a feeling of longing. You know how we say in Arabic, if you come across the saying ashtaqu ilayka. Ashtaqu ilayka basically means I miss you. Or mushtaqun, ana mushtaqun ilayka or ilayki, that I miss you. You will hear this a lot in Arabic songs. Right? Shawq is a feeling of longing for something. Okay, sometimes it's also referred to as passion, shawq. Okay, or a strong desire for something. So here he's saying that literally, the literal meaning is that our hearts are flew in longing ilayka, in longing for you. Okay, but keep in mind that this is a very common way of Arabic, and it's very important to know this, because when we say tara, right? So this is the expression tara something shawqan. You can say tara qalbi shawqan. You can say tara nafsi shawqan. Right? What it means is our hearts, right? Actually, okay. Before even that, before using an object, the meaning is to be overjoyed, to be excited, to long for something. So that's what it means when we say tara shawqan. But in this context, when we say tarat qulubuna, and usually it's used with qulub, by the way, with hearts. So when we say tarat qulubuna shawqan, it means our hearts are overjoyed. That's actually what it means. Okay, and that's how you should understand it as well, and not translate it literally, because this is more like an expression in Arabic. So when we say فَقَدْ طَارَتْ قُلُوبُنَا شَوْقًا إِلَيْكَ, the way we understand it is that indeed our hearts are longing for you. Our hearts are getting excited to see you, right? To know you. That's the meaning. فَقَدْ طَارَتْ قُلُوبُنَا شَوْقًا إِلَيْكَ. And the next one is also a bit of a saying, which I think these things are not just in one language. You know, we say in English, you know, my heart is longing for you. Don't we say that? We say that all the time. It's used in English. And the next one, وَذَابَتْ. Okay, this is also used, very common. وَذَابَتْ أَكْبَادُنَا وَجْدًا عَلَيْكَ. ذَابَتْ is a verb that means ذَابَ يَذُوبُ ذَوْبًا means to melt, to become of liquid state. Okay, to become of liquid state. When we put ice outside and it starts melting, we say in Arabic ذَابَ الثَّلْجُ. Okay, the thalj, which is snow or ice, has melted. وَذَابَت. So what has melted? أَكْبَادُنَا. Has anyone come across akbad? Kabad, akbad? Akbaduna. Very good. It's the liver or the gut. Okay. So here I've put liver, abdomen, or it can also mean the gut as well. وَذَابَتْ أَكْبَادُنَا. So our livers, I'm translating it literally, our livers have melted. Why? By the way, these two are, shawq here is maf'ul lahu, for those who've studied maf'ul lahu, right? And here wajdan is also maf'ul lahu. وَذَابَتْ أَكْبَادُنَا وَجْدًا عَلَيْكَ. And our livers have melted. Why? وَجْدًا عَلَيْكَ. Wajd means, this is a form of love, and in Arabic there are many, many degrees of love. There's hub, ishq, shawq, wajd, there's many, many others. Wajd is strong emotion, emotional upsetness. Okay, so it has, it's a very interesting word. It has a longing feeling to it, but the longing is also has a degree of sadness in it. You know, that in Arabic they say, al-wajdu huwa al-huzn wa shawq. Right, that the wajd is a combination of shawq and huzn. So there's a longing, but it's a sad longing. Why is it a sad longing? Maybe the distance or the time that they haven't seen each other is very long, or maybe they haven't seen each other. It's like, you know, when you hear about someone so much and you're really looking forward to see them, but you can't, that's wajd, right? You're longing to see them. You know, you've heard good things about the person, but there's a degree of sadness because you can't see them. So wajd, these are used a lot in Arabic poetry, which talks about love and romance and so on. So wajdan alayka means, you know, our livers have melted out of strong emotion alayka for you, right? Wajdan alayka. So in English we can say dhabat akbaduna. Yeah, I haven't included it here. So dhabat akbaduna. Do we have something like that in English? Because I know in Farsi we do. We say like, the literal meaning is my stomach is melting. Does anyone else use that in their language? You know, like, or my liver is melting. Like it's a bit of a common thing to say that, you know, it's that there's a longing for you, gut feeling strongly melted, perished for you. Yeah, that's a literal translation, Irfan, but we shouldn't use a literal translation because the meaning is important, right? So وَذَابَتْ أَكْبَادُنَا وَجْدٌ عَلَيْكَ is basically like, you can say, yeah, I mean, you can say our livers or our stomachs or our guts, abdomen is longing for you, but because that doesn't make sense in English, right? We need to really bring out a meaning out of this, and we can really basically say, you know, that our hearts are longing for you, and ourselves, right? Ourselves are emotionally upset for you, or emotionally attached or waiting in sadness for you. So something like that is what we need to say it in English, right? Because if the literal translation does not make sense in the other language, then you have to derive the meaning. This is very, very important. Okay, the meaning is more important than what literally it means. So over here, there's many ways. I mean, we don't have to discuss it now, but I think we can say, you know, our hearts are longing for you, and our bodies or ourselves or our organs, right, are crying out for you, or are longing, are full of emotion for you, you know, something like that, basically. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Now he continues. أيها الغد, oh tomorrow. He's still talking to tomorrow. إن لنا آمالا كبارا وصغارا. Okay. What does آمال mean? We came across it before. آمال, it's the jam'a of أمل. It's hopes. Right? Hopes. أمل, آمال is hopes. إن لنا آمالا. Oh tomorrow, indeed for us, or we have hopes. كبارا وصغارا. We have hopes, big ones and small ones. Right? We have big hopes and we have small hopes. Okay, so the amalan is mansub because it's ism of inna. right? And the lana is the khabar. A khabar is coming first. Inna lana amalan kibaran wa sigara. Kibar wa sigar is just basically, you can say, it's badal. Okay, so part of amal is big ones and small ones. Amalan. Kibaran wa sigaran. Big ones or small. Or it could be sifa as well. Sifa of amal. Okay. So indeed we have hope, big ones and small ones. وَآمَانِيَّ and wishes. And we have wishes. حِسَانًا وَغَيْرَ حِسَان. Anyone knows what hisan means? It's another way of saying hasan. Hasan is beautiful, it's nice. Hisan is just the feminine form, the plural feminine form of hasna, hisan. And indeed, so tomorrow, indeed we have hopes, big ones and small ones, and wishes, good ones and bad ones. That's what it means, okay? Hisan وغير حسان. I mean, does anyone have a bad wish? Not really, but sometimes when you wish for something, it turns out bad for you, right? So that's probably what he means. And then he continues and he says, فَحَدِّثْنَا. So, حَدِّثْنَا. Okay, so what does حَدِّثْنَا mean? It means, حَدَّثَ يُحَدِّثُ تَحْدِيث means to speak. Tell us. Inform us. Right? Speak to us. فَحَدِّثْنَا. Right? Oh, tomorrow we have all these hopes and wishes, big ones, small ones, good ones, bad ones. So speak to us about our hopes, عن آمالنا. Speak to us about our hopes. أين مكانها منك? Okay? The literal meaning of this sentence is أين, right, where? مكانها منك. The literal meaning is where is its place from you? Where is its place from you? This is a way of saying in Arabic, أين مكانها منك, right? This means, the literal meaning is, where is its place or estimate in your sight or with you? The meaning is, when will it happen? Do you know more about it? Can you tell us if it's going to happen or not? Okay, so this أين مكانها منك, it's quite common in the usage of Arabic. أين مكانها منك? You know, what do you know about it? About our hopes? Can you tell us more about it? That's the intended meaning. وخبرنا. Okay, very similar to hadithna. And as I told you, he could have easily used hadithna. He didn't use it because he authors don't like to repeat the same verb again. If there's a synonymous verb, a verb is similar in meaning, then they will use that, which is khabirna. And khabirna also has similar meaning, and I've included it here, to inform of something. Okay? To inform us of something. وَخَبِّرْنَا عَنْ أَمَانِينَا, and inform us about our wishes. مَاذَا صَنَعْتَ بِهَا? صَنَعَ يَصْنَعُ means to create something, right? To form something, to design something. What have you designed with it? What have you formed with it? That's the literal meaning. But this is also another very common way of saying in Arabic. مَاذَا صَنَعْتَ بِهَا means, what did you do with it? What did you do with it or with them? Okay? So this person is asking tomorrow. And then he continues and he says, أَأَذْلَلْتَهَا أَأَذْلَلْتَهَا. Okay? أَأَذْلَلْتَهَا. I think I've included a different form here. أَذَالَ يُذِيلُ. Similar in meaning, I've included a different form, but really there should be أَأَذْلَلْتَهَا is أَذْلَلَ or أَذَلَّ. Have you heard the name of part of the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Mu'izz wal-Mudhil. Has anyone heard of that? Mudhil? What does it mean? Mudhil? So al-Mudhil is the one who debases someone. Okay, it's a bad thing. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُعِزُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيُذِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. He gives honor, dignity, he raises whoever he wishes, and he debases, puts down, humiliates whoever he wishes. Right? So one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Mu'izz wal-Mudhil. Al-Mu'izz is the one who raises someone, who gives them honor, dignity, or success, and Mudhil is the one who degrades someone, puts them down, humiliates them sometimes even, right? And that comes from the verb أذل يذل. Okay, it's form number 4, but it's irregular. It should have been أذلل, right? However, check this out. So when you use it for, second person singular masculine, the lam comes back. Okay, and this is part of the changes that happens when the verb is irregular. So the first is a question, right? You know how we say أفعلت هذا? Did you really do this? And هل are very similar in meaning. هل فعلت هذا؟ أفعلت هذا? Right? أذللتها? So did you degrade it and debase it? Right? Our hopes. Did you put it down? Not give it any sort of importance, not care about it. واحتقرتها? احتقر, similar meaning. To belittle, to disparage, to look down upon, right? أذلتها واحتقرتها? In other words, what did you do with our hopes? Did you debase them, not care about them, leave them on its own, step over them, right? Or كنت لها من المكرمين? ماذا صنعت بها? What have you done with our hopes and wishes? Did you debase them and belittle them? Or كنت لها? Or the literal meaning of this sentence is this: or were you to them, to hopes and wishes, from those who are generous? من المكرمين. Right? Mukrim is the one who is generous. In other words, he is saying, what did you do with them? Did you give them importance? Or were you of those ones who are generous and make them come true? That's what he's trying to say. And then, la, right? No. When you say no twice, it means you're definitely certain. You don't want it. La. Sun, right? This is a fi'l amr. Sirraka fi sadrika. Sun, sana yasunu is exactly or very similar in meaning to hafiza yahfazu, means to preserve or to protect. To preserve or to protect. So sana yasunu, I've included here. So sana yasunu means to put away, protect, preserve, keep safe. Very, very similar meaning to hafiza yahfazu, right? Sun sirraka fi sadrik. We know the rest of the meaning. Preserve or keep it, keep safe your secret in your chest or within you. وَأَبْقِي, أَبْقَى يُبْقِي is to put something in its place, to keep it as it is, right? بَقَى يَبْقِي means to remain. وَأَبْقِي لِثَامَكَ عَلَى وَجْهِكَ, and keep your mask على وجهك, on your face, and keep your face mask on your face. وَلَا تُحَدِّثْنَا, right? This is majzoom because of la. وَلَا تُحَدِّثْ, sukun majzoom because of la. وَلَا تُحَدِّثْنَا, prohibition, right? وَلَا تُحَدِّثْنَا حَدِيثًا وَاحِدًا, and don't speak to us even one speech, in other words, even one thing, عَنْ أَمَالِنَا وَأَمَانِينَا, about our hopes and our wishes. حَتَّى, last week I told you that حَتَّى has many, many meanings. In this context, it means kay, right? حَتَّى, right? Why shouldn't you tell us all these things? Because kay, right? And he's giving the reason why. حتى لا, because, or so that is a better way, so that لا تفجعنا. This is a very interesting word. لا تفجعنا. فجع يفجع. فجع يفجع means to inflict suffering and grief. It's a very, faja is one of the highest levels of tragedy. They usually use this verb when something completely and unexpectedly happens and it's very, very tragic. They say fuji'tu, right? I'm completely in suffering and grief. All right. حتى لا تفجعنا فيها. فَتَفْجَعَنَا فِي أَرْوَاحِنَا وَنُفُوسِنَا. So he is saying, don't inform us about our hopes and wishes, so that you do not inflict us about them or in them, because if that happens, then فَتَفْجَعَنَا. So then you will, you tomorrow, you will inflict grief and suffering in our souls and in ourselves. Right? Don't tell us. We don't want to feel grief about them, because then it will affect our souls and ourselves. And then he says, فَإِنَّمَا, because indeed, innama is like indeed, 100%. The only reason, that's what innama means. فَإِنَّمَا, indeed, the only reason, نَحْنُ أَحْيَاءٌ, we are alive. Why are we alive? Through what are we alive? Because of what? بِالْآمَالِ. We are only alive because or due to hopes. وَإِن كَانَتْ بَاطِلًا. And even if, in other words, and even if they were batil. What does batil mean? Batil means what does not have importance, something that is not true. Okay? We are alive because of these hopes, and even if these hopes are untrue, even if they're, something of not importance. In other words, it might not happen, or, but we are alive because of hopes. And that's true. The reason why we plan for tomorrow is because we have a degree of hope that tomorrow will come. Right? Imagine if we knew exactly what's going to happen in the future. What motivation will we have to live? Right? We don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's a degree of blessing. Right? We plan and we hope and we pray and make dua that these things happen in our lives. وَسُعَدَاء, right? In other words, نَحْنُ أَحْيَاء, because of this, and وَنَحْنُ سُعَدَاء, and we are happy, بِالْأَمَانِ, because of wishes, وَإِن كَانَتْ كَاذِبًا, even if they were كاذب. Usually we know it as lies, but it has other meanings. It means imaginary, artificial, fraudulent, right? وَإِن كَانَتْ كَاذِبًا. In other words, even if it was fake or if it wasn't real. Right? And then he finishes it with a line of poetry, and he says, وَلَيْسَتْ, right? Laysa is not. Here it's feminine because of haya. وَلَيْسَتْ حَيَاةُ الْمَرْءِ. Al-mar' means a person, a human being, an individual, right? وَلَيْسَتْ حَيَاةُ الْمَرْءِ إِلَّا أَمَانِي. So the life of a person is not except wishes, right? In other words, he's saying that life is nothing but wishes and hopes, right? إِذَا هِيَ ضَاعَتْ, if it is lost, right? This amani, this life of wishes, if that is lost, فَالْحَيَاةُ عَلَى الْأَثَرِ. If it is lost, then life is on the track. So athar means imprint, right? Yeah. So imprint, mark, or track. Like let's say if you walk on sand, they say baqa atharuhu. His mark was, or his imprint has remained, right? And they also use this for scholars or people of importance. They say sayabqa atharuhu fil mustaqbal. His imprint, his mark will remain in the future. So here the author is saying fal hayatu ala al-athari, then the life is in track. In track to what? In track to follow, to be in loss. Da'a yadi'u, daya means to be in loss, to be wasted, to be missing. Right? So in summary, he says for this poem, he basically says the life of a person is not except wishes. If that is lost, then life will also follow it. In other words, life will also be lost. Okay? And that completes our article. Wow. Alhamdulillah, we managed to finish it, and you guys made that himma or aspiration to continue and go through it. So that's really great. I have uploaded the vocabulary. Okay, I've uploaded the vocabulary and updated it. So make sure that you have access to it. As you can see, it has many new words. If I just keep scrolling up, look at all these words. Okay, so there's a lot. Look at that, so many things, expressions, and then the verbs, asma. Okay, so the way to really good at reading, to become good at reading is, I've said this before, is to not necessarily memorize words, but to read the thing that you've studied before. Right? Read an article that you have studied before, and read it. If you're not sure of a meaning, then refer back to the vocab list, and then read this article maybe once every month or once every 2 weeks. You know, this will be really good to solidify a lot of the mufradat, inshallah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Here you said the batil and the kadhib. In this context, we can take the same meaning.
Yeah, it can take the same meaning. Yeah. It can take the same meaning, but even in English, we don't have to use the same words.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, the meaning of, I mean, they do have a bit of a difference. So batil is something that's not true, or something that's, you know, when someone doesn't give it that much of importance. In more of Islamic terms, batil can also mean misguided. Okay, batil can also mean misguided. And kadhib, sorry, there should be a kasra, not kadhib. Kadhib is ism fa'il. So kadhib is someone who lied. If I say huwa kadhib, it means he is a liar, right? But you can use kadhib as a sifa. You can say, for example, هذا كتاب كاذب. This is a fake book. This is a fraudulent book. It's not true. It's not real. Okay? So even in English, it's good to always choose different words because that's part of eloquence. So in meaning, they could refer to certain things, overlap, but we don't have to use the same meaning, the same words if we can.
Thank you.
He wrote this article on deep depression. Yeah, I mean, he did go through a lot of difficulties. He lost a lot of his children at a very young age. Actually, he's got a really nice article on one of his sons that he buried them. I think it's in, yeah, if you go to, okay, I don't have the full book with me now, but the third one is called Ad-Dafinu Saghir. That's also very nice, but it's quite long, so we're not gonna get through it. Okay, so what we'll do next is, because we are in end of session, so we won't have a class, Saturday classes for the next 2-3 weeks until the new session starts. We'll take a break. But in the meantime, in this break, try to go through, if you can, all the articles that we've covered. So the Juha stories, and then we did the Al-Abarat, the teas. We did that story, and then after that, this other book, Al-Nazarat. The title was Al-Ghad. So go through these as much as you can. But in the meantime, do you guys have any other suggestions or thoughts or feedback or ideas for these classes? Anything that can inspire me to think about? Feel free to suggest. It could be a change in format, it could be a different topic, or something more to focus on. Happy to listen to any ideas you guys might have. Or if you think this is okay, let me know as well, so that I know that you guys are, you know, making use of it. Good without vowels? Yeah, we'll keep it without vowels from now on. We won't really read another text with vowels. Okay, so it seems like you guys are more or less okay with this format, which is fine. So I'll let you guys know when we will restart these classes. I think you're all part of the WhatsApp group, right? Is anyone here not part of the WhatsApp group? Because that's where I will send the updates. So I'll send the updates over there, and I'll let you guys know when the next class will be. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Wa iyyakum, inshallah.